And welcome back to coverage here of Pro Tour Ether Drift. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I've got Paul Cheon by my side, and we are in Chicago, Illinois. It is chilly outside, but we've got action here at MagicCon. We're drafting. We've got Javier Dominguez, and he just drafted a deck. Not great.
I think he just
hard to call it great.
It's hard to call it great because you always just want to open bomb rares and be in the right colors for everything. But I will say, given what his options were, I think he just kind of drafted his seat. I think he drafted it to the best of his ability. Maybe one or two picks you could have done something differently, but this was just a seat. Right, red was open. If you look in the last pack, that was a pack 3 Bastronaut, right? And you got a late Thunderhead Gunner, so he was kind of in the colors that he was supposed to be, but because of the lack of depth in those colors, you had that disaster scenario in pack 2 where he just didn't get anything, and so he's going to have to cobble some things together here. He's got what looks like a somewhat aggressive shell, but some cycling themes. Really curious to kind of see what the end product is for this.
I am too, and we're going to get a chance to see it in the feature. Now, he's going to be sitting down across from his opponent, David Frischer from the United States. A little newer to the scene than Javier Dominguez. You see the 0 top finishes. Qualified via regional championship in Washington, D.C., where David finished in the top 64. This is his first Pro Tour.
Wow.
So, to David, I say welcome. It's great to have you along, and good luck, my friend. You're sitting across from arguably the best player in the world. So, have fun with that.
At the very least, Javier doesn't have the best deck in the entire world, so maybe he's got a shot here.
That's right. David looks like, I'm taking a look at the list here, David is actually playing a more dedicated version of one of the things that Javier was doing, which is red-blue.
Oh, so 2 red-blue decks. I am not sure if a draft can actually support 2 blue-red players, so this will be interesting to see.
Definitely. The good news for David is that it doesn't look like Javier crept into that territory too much. Perhaps just the monument, got stolen from him, but
right. Okay, that's a good hand.
So he's got his own Burnout Bastronaut to kick things off.
Blue.
And Javier has named blue, so that tells us something, because off of his opening hand, we only see red and white, but he has named blue, so that splash is going to be in effect.
And Bastronaut, incredible turn 1 play here. It just doesn't take much here now to get to maximum speed here. And then that becomes a real clock. The Bastronaut gets double strike with fire breathing.
The only good news for Javier is that the only thing David did with his turn 2 is just pump the Bastronaut, so at least you don't have the 1-2 curve.
Yeah. And Javier's hand...
Speed is at 2.
Speed is at 2, and Javier's just hoping that David plays an artifact here. Doesn't really have anything else to do here on turn 2.
No effects. Blocks, take 1, trigger. Yeah.
And this time, no pump here from Frischer because he does have a follow-up play.
Goblin Surveyor here.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's how often David's probably played against the Wreck Remover.
Right.
He's like, what does this do?
The crazy part is, I'm looking at the list here.
Yeah.
Javi has 2 and is playing both.
Yeah, I mean, so
just for cycling.
He's definitely doing the cycling thing here, and he has to kind of play some cards that you typically don't see that often. But when you're doing the cycling thing, any 2-mana cycler will do. So David has at least a free attack with the Bastronaut because it has Menace. Does he have a removal spell here for the Artillerist?
He does.
And Crash and Burn.
Crash and Burn's going to take it down and clear the way for 3 damage.
And we now have maximum speed.
Is it at 4 already?
It's already at 4.
Wow.
For you, 13, no? Yes, 13.
Yeah, so,
20.
So now the Bastronaut has double strike.
13,
So every time David pumps it, it's going to be just 2 extra points of damage here.
Wow.
And if the Surveyor dies, you can remove that from the graveyard to draw some extra cards.
Yeah, so 2 max speed cards on the battlefield with max speed. That's kind of right where you want to be. And I got to say, killing the 1/4 there was huge for David because the Menace now on the Bastronaut is going to become a real problem here for Dominguez.
And David's got an Outpace Oblivion here as well. So just a really, really aggressive start here. Kill the 3/4, hit for 5, put Javier down to 8, and then you can sack the Oblivion to deal an additional 2 points of damage.
This is like GG-ish.
Javier is not close to getting to maximum speed here to prevent the taking 2 damage from the Oblivion.
Yeah, no land drop there from Frischer means more action in hand, though he doesn't get to pump up the Bastronaut this turn.
Wait, you're playing 3 colors and you have a colorless land in your deck?
Oh, greedy Javi?
Oh, man.
Yo.
Oh, no play yet either?
He's got the Valor's flagship, so he can cycle that for 2 pilots, and I imagine that's kind of his play, but it's not great with what's on the board here. You can double block the Bastronaut, but it's got double strike, so it doesn't even really work. And I guess you can double block the Surveyor to trade, but you still take the 1 trample.
Combat. We'll attack for 5.
Cycle this.
Cycle Valor's
Use
flagship.
tokens.
So we can
Make 2 1/1s.
Yeah.
sure.
Buckhart. Blocks.
But what is he going to do with
Yeah,
them?
blocks this turn.
Probably block the
double
3/2.
block the yeah.
You can just pump this twice and put him down to 2, right?
Right?
Yeah, and you trample for, and Javier's down to 1 actually.
Oh, yeah, you're
It
right.
tramples, but I think they might have missed it. But
Well, they counted it as lethal. That was
Wow.
game number 1. Going to the new
think we're doing
guy,
good, but I think
David
most
Frischer.
likely
Welcome to the
regardless.
PT.
Yeah, that was good. That was
Good start. That'll get those nerves out. You know,
we
like,
like-
hey, I can win.
yeah, great draw, great curve, removal. You just played normal Magic. You just played creatures and removal
Yes.
spells to kind of get things out of the way. I wonder if David just has a blue-red, just normal blue-red tempo deck, maybe not really relying too much on
Yeah.
the cycling aspect,
Maybe.
and just playing cards, just curve out and beat you down.
Because I have to say, that was about as clean of a game as you're going to see. I mean,
Right.
Frischer basically curved out, attacked every time, and killed everything that Dominguez put on the battlefield. It's just like exactly what you want in that type
Yeah.
of archetype.
Look at this Walking Sarcophagus, not really a card you see often in a blue-red cycling deck, so
No,
I
but
think
the
David just wants to beat down.
Engines are started. There's the boosted sloop now for Dominguez with his perfect mana base, by the way. Look at that, Paul.
One of each.
Respect the game. The sloop, okay on its own here for Dominguez. Given what we saw from Frischer in game 1, it's hard to imagine that he's going to be able to race, but it could play an important role in getting some of these expensive cards into the graveyard for Dominguez. Because, Paul, I have to say, I'm taking a quick look here. I have to double check this. I don't want to say it unless it's for sure true. Yeah, it's for sure true. He's playing Push the Limit.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's in here too.
Hey, I like it. You know, if you go, hey, my deck's just not great enough, I'm going to need to get a little bit lucky. If I cycle the Valor's flagship and cast Push to Limit, that can just end games on the spot.
Huge swing, and cards like the Sloop and the Thunderhead Gunner are ways that he can get some of the vehicles into the graveyard that wouldn't otherwise naturally get there. Although one did just end up there.
Right,
His
right.
Sloop got killed, so
There are 2 vehicles in the yard right now.
yeah, let's go.
Ooh.
Frisky.
What kind of attack can this... If you look at David's hand, he doesn't have anything. There's removal spells and a Howler's Heavy, but a Howler's Heavy doesn't actually do anything. So I think Javier's thinking, what kind of removal can he... Oh, and
Got him!
He pushes damage through when he doesn't quite have anything in hand to actually... He doesn't have a combat trick, right? He has removal spells. He could have just used the removal spells, but didn't. Wow.
Oh man, David, he's got some moves.
Comment.
Just bluffing the world champ your first match at your first PT? Okay. He's gonna, what, crash and burn here?
Crash and Burn's gonna work. And Javier's probably just gonna play an artillerist here to just block 3/2.
Yeah,
I don't think you really want to ride. I think you kind of want to save rides in for a bigger or better creature. So you just play a 1/4. And now if David does have a trick, it's like go for it, right? Just like
Right.
if you use your trick to get my 1/4 out of the way, that's
Yeah.
fine.
This is a spot where David needs to recognize that he's gonna get called here.
Right. You're
Like,
just blocking 100% of the time.
right. So let's see what he wants to do. Oh, he drew Outpace Oblivion. So he could just take care of business.
And has Broadside Barrage, so just
Oh, sure.
multiple,
Yeah.
multiple removal spells here. Now, if you're a Javier seat, really just wants land number 5. You want to just slam Broadcast Rambler just to try to stabilize this board here.
Mm-hmm. Does David continue the game plan that he's been on, which is just remove everything, keep turning.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he does.
Max speed now, right?
Yeah.
Back to 3.
Wow.
12.
He's really good at getting to max speed.
Yeah.
It's a kind of tricky thing to do, but his
Right.
deck seems really well built for it. Is there a land here for Dominguez?
No, there's a monument, but no cycling.
See, this is what we
Just
were
doesn't
talking
do-
about.
Yeah, look
right?
at his hand. It's just like it's fine Boros cards
With some random.
with the monument here. Now you have a Cloudspire Sky Cycle with no targets. Basically, Rides End just being the only thing you can do, and just running out the monument.
I mean,
and
can
hoping
you
just get
imagine
some
how
cycles.
happy David is right now?
Yeah.
Tap 3 mana. Oh, is it going to be a blocker, removal spell? It's a monument. You're like,
Yeah.
sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough too because Dominguez, you know, he has to build his deck for the average deck in the format, let's say. That includes a lot of green decks, a lot of slow decks, and he's faced a very aggressive deck here from David, who is just running him over currently. Oh, and he misses land drop
jeez.
again.
2 damage, right?
Sacking this 2 damage.
Might as well. He's down to 7.
This is an attack for 6, and Javier, does he have any? Oh, he has a Ride Zen.
Okay.
So going to be using that on the Surveyor here.
Thinking.
Push to limit is in hand, but we are not close to being able to cast that.
I don't see how he wins if he's drawn push the limit plus the monument and no support for either, you know, either in terms of lands or cycling.
He is down to 4. Does David just have another follow-up? I think he had a Howler's Heavy in hand. Probably just plays it here.
Yeah.
Right,
just
just
a 3/4.
and has a broadside barrage for any creature that if so.
Sets
Javier
up
just
lethal.
plays a creature that does set up lethal. Yeah,
There's the land, so he gets to play the Broadcast Rambler.
but if
Does
Javier,
David have an end step removal spell, the Broadside Barrage,
and
and
that's
he can
just
just do
game.
it now, and that's it. David Frischer comes onto the big stage at his
Let him
first
rest
Pro Tour against Javier Dominguez
Select you.
and dispatches him in 2 quick games.
Yeah,
what a
just
start for
yeah,
David.
just a great curve. Just had a nice mix of just decent, just playable creatures with removal. And Javier's deck is just, as you can see, it's a little bit of a mess. It's really rough. He doesn't have a good aggressive start. He just kind of has to hope that his opponents are on slower decks,
Yes.
where he can get his cycling engine going and possibly win with push to limits. But if you play against the deck that's trying to curve out, he's just going to get run over in a lot of instances, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this format does lend itself to be on the slower side, so I can see how Javier would come to those conclusions of like, well, these are, you know, his 2 most powerful options. He actually drew that turn, or that game, I should say, but you know, they're not good unless you get the support for them, and that requires time. And he didn't have any of that in game 1 or 2.
Yeah, and it's not going to be a good feeling here. Javier still got to play some cards, and if you look at what David played, it's not like he was playing world-beating creatures, at least in game 2.
No.
We saw a 3/2, we saw some Surveyors. It was just random creatures that he just played on curve, but that plus removal just kind of got it done. Meanwhile, Javier's like, I can't play this card, I can't play this card. I drew a monument, but I have no cyclers. There's just a lot of things that need to go right, I think, for Javier to have success with this deck, and I just feel like he's 4 or 5 cyclers short of actually a deck that can win a bunch of matches.
Which is a lot. Yeah, the other way that could have played out is if Javier had drawn more removal. There weren't that many threats. It was a nice balance there from David where he had like just a few threats and then was like removal, removal, removal. But if you take out one of those key threats early, all of a sudden, you know, maximum speed doesn't happen as fast. And of course, your life total stays higher. But that's not how it played out in that one.
No. And I mean, really impressive play from David as well, right? A lot of it was just him playing out his hand. But at the same time, he got a bluff attack through against the world champ. That's got to be the best feeling. Obviously, going 1-0 is great. But being able to bluff 3 damage through, I would, if it was my first port, I'd be like, I got him. I got him for 3
That'd be your
damage.
Twitter profile pic or
yeah,
whatever.
the attack, just the screenshot.
Yeah, totally. All right, so we've got another round 1 match to bring you here. We've got Corey Buckhart sitting down across from Ken Yukuhiro. So 2 heavy hitters ready to battle as well. And we'll see if their draft went a little bit better for them than Javier's did for him.
And Corey, by the way, on basically no sleep, I found coming into this, broke his finger.
Yeah, he said he got an
Yesterday.
injury of some sort.
And he's just been at the hospital all day, and hopefully he's
21, go ahead.
doing okay here. I guess he's good enough to play in this event. So
Oh boy, that does
Yeah.
look like a broken finger. A thumb
that's
maybe.
definitely something.
So he's looks like I mean, this is like not relevant to the game, but it does look like he's having to
22,
do
go
most
ahead.
of the actions with his
the
left hand, which he's not left-handed. So that's actually really annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully it's not too big of a distraction. Oh, it looks like Ken's on 5 here, by the way.
Oh, geez.
Corey did keep the full 7.
Is that just a turn 2 Dune Drifter?
It is, yeah.
Oh,
He just ran it out cold.
All
I
right.
suppose when you're on 5, you do what you got to do, but that is not
Yeah.
a normal play.
No.
Path Cruiser, I'll get a Swamp. Your turn.
Well, Corey's looking like he's got a nice little Jund deck going here with Marshall's Path Cruiser, which has actually played out better than it looks. You look at it and you think it's a little bit slow, but the format is a little bit slower. And, you know, hey, you crew this thing, it still hits really, really hard.
That's what I call my car now, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's totally fair.
Land number 3 there from Yukuhiro.
Wreck Remover, no targets, gain 1.
All the wreck removers you can handle here
Yeah.
in the feature match area, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. Well, there's land number 4 for Ken.
No play. So now Corey, if he plays a 2-power creature, can just slam in for 6 with your cruiser.
Vanguard,
And crew
There it is.
5.
Okay.
attack for 6.
Maybe a ride's end or
No
something?
rights in, nothing.
No.
Ooh, that's a big hit here for Corey.
It's your turn.
And Corey has a reasonable long game plan with the Beast Rider Vanguard if he runs out of gas here as well to just start dumping his mana into it.
Ken just
Ken's
has,
got to do something.
I mean, when you're on 5, you just don't have an option, right? He just doesn't even have a creature to crew this vehicle, which is always the issue with vehicles, right? You just need to have that right balance here, but not much you can do when you're...
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting case study,
Cycling.
you know, where the Dune Drifter is kind of one of the ones that people play because you get a spell and then a vehicle left over.
Right.
But you see the opposite here when it's just played as a vehicle. Even if he could crew it,
Yeah,
it's not big enough.
right. Just can't even block the 3/4.
Exactly.
So no creature follow-up here from Corey,
Combat.
otherwise he would just attack with more creatures.
Gain
Right.
2.
Yep.
Okay.
So he did find a removal spell here.
Yeah, siphon fuel here to get the vehicle, but that feels pretty
Engine
rough
rat.
for an
Yep.
exchange, though, right? Like
Go ahead.
Corey got a land out of the deal, got in for 6 damage. It took Ken's turn, so Corey's very, very happy with that exchange. And now look, we are seeing the mana sinks playing out here. We got
Totally.
Engine Rat and Beast Rider Vanguard in play for Corey. Ken's on 5, not really adding. Black and white specifically don't have nearly as many mana sinks, so when the games go long and you don't have maximum speed, it gets really rough and it gets really difficult to try to outgrind these green decks.
Right. If the game gets close damage-wise, then the rat can just start pinging away at you. And if it's a
Three in your hand?
resource battle, well, then the Beast Rider gets to do its thing.
So Corey has the option of putting the Engine Rat in front of the Dune Drifter. Now, Ken Yukuhiro does have maximum overdrive and does use it, but
I mean, that's just not really where you want to be
You have 2 in
either. I
hand
mean,
now?
he'll
Right,
take it, but
now does Corey have a removal spell in response?
It's indestructible, right?
Yep.
it is
Oh,
indestructible.
-6, I gain 2.
Yep.
Still
I got
works.
25.
It's a big blowout there. That's a
Another
2 for
siphon
1.
Fuel, yeah, that's a big 2 for 1 there. I mean, Corey was already significantly ahead, but this one looks like it's about in the books.
Yeah, Ken's going to need a bomb level card here to come back.
Interestingly, he's in the 2 colors that most commonly have sweepers available
Combat.
to them, but that is
I
not
will
a feature
eat
of this
your
set.
vehicle with
Right.
this, gain 1.
There is a spectacular pileup, I suppose, is
Hitting you for 6.
the one card here
10,
that
26.
Ken can have. So, but
Should
Corey,
I see if he has it or should we not?
you could. They,
Ketrodon,
they,
I'll
they
go to
do
30.
they do have access to deck list. Given this Ketrodon play,
then it's your
probably
turn.
doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah.
And there we go. Game number 1 going to Corey Buckhart. Broken finger and all. And that wasn't much of a game there. That mulligan to 5 really meant that Ken had to do some plays he wouldn't normally want to do. And
Yeah, that was just a hey. When you mull the 5, if you see 2 or 3 lands in your hand, you just keep whatever you have. So that's not necessarily a good indication of whatever Ken's deck is capable of.
okay, Ken's going to say land go here to kick things off in game number 2. He did mulligan again, but this time it was only to 6. So hopefully he's got a fighting chance.
Right.
2 experienced veterans
Black.
facing
Give a
off
token
against
for that,
each other
And then
here.
it's your turn.
No 2-drop here for Ken.
Night Market is going to name black here for Buckhart.
Thank you.
Curious what his red splash is for.
Yeah, I'm curious too. We can look.
21. Go ahead.
I would go right to the gold section, but
Chandra.
never mind.
That's a good one. That's a good one to splash.
That is worth splashing. Also notable that Chandra is splashable. I remember when I first saw it, I thought this doesn't cost double red.
Yeah, that is a little surprising.
Start main engines. Edict you.
Momentum breaker here.
Yeah, this is well timed. This is when you want it. Your opponent doesn't have a choice. They just have to sack whatever they've got out there.
And I will say this card has certainly overperformed relative to my initial impression of these type of effects, just because edict effects in general aren't the best because your opponents have the choice of what to sacrifice.
Wreck remover.
But that start
Your
your
dial
engines
goes
is real.
22, and then
Getting
it's
that going is
Definitely.
really strong. And then the life gain is also very relevant.
It actually can matter, yeah. All right, there's that wreck remover. Card of the day. We see a different strategy from Buckhart. He plays them
Yeah.
rather than just cycling them away.
It's like a mini Pactol Terror. You don't deal the damage, but you know.
Yeah, very mini.
Now, the exile effect is relevant, though, against Ken Yukuhiro's deck. You already saw the Dune Drifter here, so just being able to exile any creature should definitely kind of slow him down here. And remember, the Wreck Remover gains you a life no matter what. You don't have to exile something.
It is up to. We see Wretched Doll here for Ken. Looks like a decent card. Hasn't played out particularly well. Uh-oh, there's Elvish Refueler. Your favorite, Paul.
Oh, I love me an Elvish
do you want
Refueler.
purple
That
or
card,
white?
you just never run out of
With these
gas. You will
counters.
always have something to do with your mana. And the kind of wombo combo, it's with a common. You get this with an Elvish Scurryfoot, with a Stampeding Scurryfoot in play, and it is just ridiculous. Just being able to make a 3/3 every single turn is so strong.
Oh yeah, assembling the Elephant Factory is nice. It won't happen this time though. The Elvish Refueler immediately killed. Ken Yukuhiro knows not to let that thing sit around.
Okay, that was a really good sequence of events here for Ken Yukuhiro. Corey Buckhart choosing to main phase activate the Elvish Refueler, which allowed Ken to utilize 2 mana at the end of Corey's turn to cast Gallant Strike into the Broadcast Rambler here.
Interesting, because Corey didn't have any extra mana, right? So he was only going to be activating once anyway.
Right, could have just done that end of turn. Now, he is signifying some kind of a trick here, right? Because he's attacking his Wreck Remover into Broadcast Rambler.
Oh, Fang Druid to +2/+2.
Oh, geez, 5/6.
Yep. And he gets to keep a 4/2 left over as well.
Oh, that is
This
brutal.
is a
Target there,
combat
and
trick with a
then
body.
I don't gain speed because you blocked.
Yeah,
It is your
very
turn.
strong.
Fang Guardian doing work. Wow, that was nice for Corey Buckhart. It is difficult to set that up, but it happened here.
Absolutely.
And it looks like Ken's got the same follow-up play as last turn.
Another Broadcast Rambler here, so
Right.
going to be tough to attack with the Wreck Remover unless Corey has another trick or removal spell here. Can still attack with the Fang Guardian. I don't think Corey minds if that trades with the doll there, just because that is
With
a
either,
way.
yeah.
That is just a way for Ken
Combat.
to, try to sculpt some good cards off the top.
Yeah, trade with the doll. There's also the 2 tokens, or even the Rambler itself. Anything trading is fine. And the doll's going to go away.
And I think I saw Hazard of the Dunes in Corey Burkhart's hand, so probably just slamming that here if he does.
First
No?
cloth.
Oh, this card is so
All
strong.
involvement.
And he's going to get the Elvish Refueler back.
Oh, this is one of the better.
you have an
When I first read
embalm
this
thingy?
card, I thought it might be a little too slow, but given
is
the
this
speed
more?
of the format,
Same.
this is one of the strongest kind of finishers, especially if you're a Golgari-based deck. You're going to have some self-mill,
okay for you,
and you
doing it
just
like
have
that, and I'll
endless
exile it
gas.
when
This
we're
just
done with
blinks
her?
all your opponent's removal spells.
Yeah, we're kind of trained, like, modern day limited, like, you need to be doing stuff, right?
Right.
And so cards like that, we kind of have to give a little bit of a bump down because it feels like they don't affect the board when they enter the battlefield, and they take time to get going, let's just say.
Right.
But when you get a little wiggle room like we have in this format, Ether Drift is a much slower format.
Yep.
Those type of cards take over. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Corey Buckhart just sort of not look back from here.
So that Elvish Refueler is currently a 3/4 because it's been embalmed, and the Cursed Cloth Wrappings does give +1/+1. But he could have potentially double blocked the Rambler if he wants, or you can just take 7. I mean, you're at 21 life, and you can hit your opponent back, and then Corey Buckhart just has more plays on the following turns as well. So, and I don't think Ken even he hasn't started his engines yet, so it's not like taking this damage will potentially lead to.
No blocks. 7.
Yeah,
I go 14.
this makes sense.
Thank you.
And you can see we just noted that as embalmed. And like Paul said, it's interesting because the Curse Class Wrappings does give +1/+1 all your zombies, but anything you embalm is a zombie. So the shortcut is, if you happen to have any random zombies, sure, but it's going to give the things that it brings back +1/+1. And don't overlook that. These are better versions of what had already died and probably traded for something or used up a removal spell from the opponent, and now it's coming back even better.
Ooh, it looks like we're getting some Fang Guardian value here. So now that's a 5/3. Getting for a ton of damage.
So this is just a damage push?
This is a damage push, and you're just playing a creature for the turn as well, and you're gaining life because you're attacking with the Wreck Remover.
Yeah, you can Curse Cloth flash creatures and just flash them in, right?
7?
I believe
so. No,
Okay,
you're
okay.
embalming.
You're
so
embalming.
That's
Go to
sorcery
9, I go to
speed, no
3
matter what.
speed.
At any rate, this is the time to do it because damage is going to matter big time here. Ken, realizing that he's in a bit of a desperate situation against the Wrappings and he's not going to be able to outlive it, is getting aggressive, and that has opened the door for Corey to
15
punch
to 9,
back
yes, thank you.
very hard.
Yep.
Ken just dropped down to 9.
Hazard of the
Hazard of the
Dunes.
Dunes, one of the best commons in the set, just hit the battlefield too. Take a look at that guy.
Air Response Unit, I
Come
believe.
on.
Yeah, that is
Air
just not...
This sums up why Air Response Unit has not performed very well. Is look at the board it's facing. I mean, even just one Hazard of the Dunes stops it.
Yeah, I mean, at an uncommon, I feel like this needed an extra keyword or something, especially when at common you have Hazard of the Dunes, Migrating Ketradon, and Thunderhead Gunner, all at common,
9.
all premium cards,
And
they all just
and then
eat
you
it.
look at this, and
9.
this seems like it should be a good card, but it just isn't.
Right. This is a classic stats vehicle. And if you push that hard enough,
combat.
low crew, high stats, those can perform
Everybody
quite
and
well.
I'll eat your wrecker. I'll go
But
to
not in
16.
this format.
Right.
That particular combination of stats gets brick walled just too often. Big attack here again from Corey.
Yeah, Ken doesn't have the best blocks. You could kind of put your vehicles in the way. The Rambler is a pretty good block here.
Yeah, don't forget exhaust as well. We see plenty of mana down below there for Corey, so he can turn
The
that
Hazard.
worm into a 7/7.
So I imagine Ken's probably just going to take that one just because
Yeah.
you don't have a good block there. But the thing is, this Air Response Unit's also kind of just chump blocking.
That's really
The
tough.
Refueler is a 3/4 currently because it's embalmed, and then can potentially be a 4/5
Mm-hmm.
with the exhaust here as well.
Very difficult spot for Yukuhiro. He just has never seemed to get a foothold. In the first game, he mulliganed to 5 and just never got anything going. And in this game, it's felt like Corey has been one step ahead,
Yeah.
like every turn.
Yeah, this is a horrible, horrible spot for Ken Yukuhiro. When you're in the spot where you're at a lower life total with a worse board and you're just chump blocking everything, there's just almost no coming back. Now, Ken he does have 2 mana available, so could have something like a Maximum Overdrive, right, or a Ride's End. That would certainly help him a lot here. But he's still not going to get any favorable exchange here outside of the card that he Maximum Overdrives.
So
He is
verifying
gonna just
3/4
soak
and
up
5/4,
3 damage
4/4,
as well.
3/3, 3/4 unblocked, and a 5/3 is being blocked by 2/2. I'll pass priority.
Yep.
And there's
So if I pump this,
Then
this
it's
is
3
4/4,
damage gets
it would
through.
trample over 3 as a heat for 6 total, put you to 3.
yes, and you would lose the worm. You also could just pump the Refueler to get in the 1 extra.
And then
damage.
he has an extra worm. Oh, is that a run over? No
Oh.
way, right?
Oh, it is. That is a run over.
Well,
so
then
he
don't
can
you
just
just-
respond.
Don't you just win if you do that? Is that just
He
4,
kills
8,
that
and then you
4,
pump
8,
the
and then you
Refueler?
pump the Refueler.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Run over.
He's got everything.
He really
this
has it all.
Wow, that's game.
5 damage to here.
And that's going to do it. Ken
Sorry.
Yukuhiro
Thank you.
extends the hand, and he gave him the courtesy of the alternate handshake there because poor Corey broke his finger
Oh man.
and can't use that one. But he does pick up the victory here. So a loss for his finger, but a win on the record books.
Yeah,
here.
no sleep. Corey right now is powered by pure adrenaline here, but certainly working out for him. He kind of looks like he's got the ideal green deck here. Really deep deck, lots of mana sinks, good tricks, good removal. That's kind of everything everybody's hoping to have going into this format. It's like, can somebody just open a Boros rare to my right and you just pass me some of these green cards?
No kidding.
And that's just what happens. Corey just kind of had the early, mid, and late game all covered up, and not too much Ken could have done in that spot.
No, that looks like a very difficult position. I like Corey's chances at that table. That deck looks really good. Okay, we're going to take a short break here from Chicago. When we come back, we'll be setting up the next round of action. Don't go anywhere.